The merger was dead in the water. $50 million was about to evaporate because a room full of Ivy League graduates couldn't figure out why their customer acquisition cost was skyrocketing. They were looking for a savior in a three-piece Italian suit. They didn't realize the answer was standing right next to them, holding a tray of lukewarm coffee and wearing a receptionist's uniform. This is the story of how Nia, a woman ignored by the world, taught a room of billionaires a lesson they would never forget. Before we begin this incredible story, hit that like button if you believe talent comes from anywhere, and subscribe to turn on notifications for more stories that reveal the truth about human nature. The glass doors of Sterling and Draper, Manhattan's most pretentious marketing consultancy, hissed open. Nia adjusted the collar of her polyester navy blue blazer, the standard-issue uniform for front-of-house staff. It was itchy, ill-fitting, and stood in stark contrast to the bespoke wool and silk wandering the halls past her desk. Nia, coffee. Conference room B, now. The command came from Marcus, the senior VP of strategy. He didn't look at her. He never did. To Marcus, Nia was office furniture that breathed. She was a pixel in the background of his high-definition life. Right away, Mr. Henderson, Nia said, her voice calm, betraying none of the fire that burned in her gut. She prepped the tray. As she poured the artisanal roast, her eyes scanned the document Marcus had carelessly left on the counter while flirting with a junior associate. It was the pitch deck for the Omnicorp merger, the biggest deal of the decade. Nia frowned. Target demographic, Gen Z, channel strategy, linear TV, and Facebook. Suicide, she whispered to herself. They're burning ad spend on dead channels. The ROAS, return on ad spend, will be negative by week 2. She wanted to grab a red pen. She wanted to scream that their attribution modeling was flawed. But she couldn't. She was just Nia, the receptionist who had been hired 6 months ago because she desperately needed the health insurance for her mother's dialysis. The gap in her resume, 3 years spent caretaking, had been a death sentence in the interview rooms. Despite her degree, despite her past, no one looked past the gap. So, she took the headset. She answered the phones. She lowered her head. But today was different. Today, Elias Thorne was coming. Elias Thorne wasn't just a billionaire, he was a titan of industry. He was the client. The man Sterling and Draper needed to impress to close the Omnicorp deal. Thorne was known for 2 things, his erratic brilliance and his utter disdain for sycophants. When Nia arrived at conference room B, the tension was palpable. Marcus was sweating through his shirt. The CEO, a man named Sterling, no relation to the quality, was pacing. If Thorne hates the pitch, we're looking at layoffs, Sterling muttered. Nia placed the coffee down silently. As she turned to leave, the doors swung open. Elias Thorne walked in. He didn't look like a billionaire. He wore jeans, a black t-shirt, and worn-out sneakers. He looked more like a tech support guy than the man who owned half the telecommunications grid. Gentlemen, Thorne said, his voice quiet but commanding. The executive scrambled. Mr. Thorne. Please, sit. Coffee? Marcus offered, snapping his fingers at Nia. Pour him a cup. Nia stepped forward, pouring the black coffee with steady hands. Thorne watched her. He didn't watch the coffee pot, he watched her eyes. He saw the way her gaze flicked momentarily to the projection screen displaying the disastrous marketing funnel. He saw the microscopic wince she made when she looked at the projected churn rate. Stop, Thorne said. The room froze. Marcus looked terrified. Is the coffee too hot, sir? Not you, Thorne said, waving Marcus away. He looked at Nia. You. What's your name? Nia, sir. Nia. You looked at that slide, he pointed to the screen, and you looked like you smelled rotten milk. Why? Marcus let out a nervous laugh. Sir, she's just the receptionist. She doesn't understand the... Quiet, Thorne snapped. He turned back to Nia. I asked you a question. Nia gripped the silver tray. This was it. She could stay silent, keep her job, and remain invisible. Or she could speak. The attribution model is wrong, Nia said softly. The room went dead silent. Excuse me? Marcus scoffed, his face turning red. Nia, get back to the front desk immediately. Let her speak, Thorne said, leaning forward. Why is it wrong? Nia set the tray down. She walked toward the screen. Her heart was hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird, but her voice became steel. This was her language. This was her world. You're using a last-click attribution model, Nia said, pointing to the graph. You're giving 100% of the credit to the final touchpoint, which you've listed as Facebook ads. But your data shows a high volume of direct traffic prior to conversion. That means your brand awareness campaigns, the podcasts, the influencer seeding, are doing the heavy lifting, but you aren't tracking them. You're about to cut the budget for the very things driving your sales because your model is outdated. You're not just burning money, you're cutting the engine while the plane is in the air. Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. Sterling, the CEO, blinked. Marcus looked like he had swallowed a lemon. Thorne stared at her for a long moment. Then, a slow smile spread across his face. She's right. The linear TV spend? It's a vanity metric. It makes you feel good to see your ad during the game, but it's not converting. Thorne stood up. I'm bored of this pitch. It's the same cookie-cutter garbage I get from every agency. But her. He pointed at Nia. She's interesting. I'm inviting her to the summit. The summit? Marcus choked out. Sir, the summit is for partners and key stakeholders. It's at the Ritz-Carlton. It's highly technical. And she just dismantled your entire technical strategy in 30 seconds, Thorne said. She comes, or the deal is off. The summit at the Ritz-Carlton was an arena of sharks. Executives from the top 5 global agencies were there. The air smelled of expensive cologne and fear. Nia arrived wearing her best suit, a charcoal gray number she had bought years ago when she was on the cover of Adweek. It was slightly out of style, but she wore it like armor. Marcus intercepted her at the entrance of the ballroom. Listen to me, he hissed, grabbing her arm. You sit in the back. You take notes. You do not speak. Thorne is eccentric, he's using you as a prop to humiliate us. Don't let it get to your head. Nia pulled her arm away. I'm here to work, Marcus. The morning session was a disaster. The Sterling and Draper team presented their revised strategy, but they were flailing. They had tried to incorporate Nia's feedback but didn't understand the underlying principles. They were throwing around buzzwords like omnichannel and its synergy without understanding the mechanics. Thorne sat at the head of the table, scrolling on his phone, visibly checking out. Then came the crisis. The live data feed for the soft launch came in. The numbers were catastrophic. The website traffic was high, but the conversion rate was 0.2%. They were losing $10,000 an hour. What's happening? Thorne demanded, tossing his phone onto the mahogany table. Why aren't they buying? Marcus stammered. It's a glitch. The server load. It's not the server, Nia spoke up from the back of the room. Every head turned. Nia, shut up, Marcus whispered violently. If I shut up, you lose the account in 10 minutes, Nia said, her voice projecting across the cavernous room. She walked to the front, past the sweating executives. She plugged her laptop into the main projector. You're targeting the wrong psychological trigger, Nia explained, her fingers flying across the keyboard. She pulled up the heat maps of the website. Look at the user behavior. They scroll past the features section. They stop at the mission statement. This isn't a utility purchase for this demographic, it's an identity purchase. They don't care what the product does, they care why you made it. She looked at Thorne. Give me permission to change the landing page copy. Right now. Thorne looked at Marcus, then at Nia. You have 5 minutes. This is insane. Marcus yelled. She's a receptionist. She's going to crash the back end. Sit down, Marcus, the CEO barked, realizing his own neck was on the line. Nia worked. She didn't just change the text, she restructured the user journey. She stripped away the corporate jargon. She applied the principles of behavioral economics, scarcity, social proof, and narrative fallacy. She implemented a dynamic A/B test in real time. Live in 3, 2, 1. Nia pressed enter. The room watched the big screen. The real-time analytics graph was a flat green line. 1 minute passed. Marcus smirked. See? Nothing. Then, the line ticked up. Then it spiked. Then it went vertical. Conversion rate, 1.5%. Conversion rate, 3%. Conversion rate, 5.2%. My God, the CEO whispered. That's $3 million in revenue in 10 minutes. The room erupted. Executives were cheering, high-fiving. Marcus stood there, pale as a ghost. Thorne didn't cheer. He watched Nia. She wasn't celebrating. She was analyzing the data, looking for the next optimization. Thorne tapped his glass with a spoon, silencing the room. Incredible work, Thorne said. Truly. But I have one question. He looked at Nia. Who are you? Because a receptionist doesn't know how to code a dynamic landing page and apply high-level behavioral psychology on the fly. Nia took a deep breath. She looked at the faces of the people who had ignored her for 6 months. My name is Nia, she said. But 7 years ago, before I took a leave of absence to care for my dying mother, my name was Nia Vance. A gasp went through the room. The CEO dropped his pen. Nia Vance? The Vance strategy? You ran the global campaign for Redstream? You were the youngest VP in the history of the Ogilvy Group? I was, Nia said. But when I tried to return to the workforce, the gap in my resume made me unhireable. Recruiters told me my skills were stale. They told me I wasn't a culture fit. So, I took the only job I could get. I answered your phones. I fixed your typos. And I watched you make mistake after mistake. She turned to Marcus. And Marcus? Last week, you told me to take out the trash because that's all I was good for. The trash you referred to was a folder containing the beta test results that would have predicted this crash today. I read them. You didn't. Marcus slumped into his chair, defeated. His career at Sterling and Draper was effectively over. Thorne stood up and clapped. A slow, rhythmic applause. Soon, the CEO joined in. Then the rest of the room. Sterling, Thorne said to the CEO. I'm signing the contract. On one condition. Anything, Mr. Thorne, the CEO said, eager to please. Nia isn't your receptionist anymore. She's your new partner. And she leads my account. Exclusively. The CEO nodded vigorously. Done. Absolutely done. Nia Vance didn't just get a promotion that day, she got her life back. She proved that brilliance doesn't wear a specific uniform, and it certainly doesn't have an expiration date. She revolutionized the agency, eventually buying out the partners and renaming it Vance and Associates. As for Marcus, he was let go a month later. Rumor has it, the last time anyone saw him, he was applying for a job, at the front desk. Never underestimate someone based on their title. The person pouring your coffee might just be the smartest person in the room. If this story inspired you, please hit the like button to support the channel. It helps us create more content like this. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a true story of triumph. What would you have done in Nia's shoes? Let us know in the comments below.